The Coalition fleet filled the sky above Earth like a storm of metal and fire. Thousands of ships blocked the sun and turned day into endless night. The Sci-Fi cruisers moved in tight formations, their insect bodies gleaming under artificial lights. Vorath crystal vessels spun slowly, sending sharp rainbow flashes across the void. Behind them, the massive hive-mind carriers pulsed with green bioluminescence, like living hearts beating in space. Humanity had fought for 7 long years. Colony after colony fell, until only Earth remained. The last human fleet gathered in a thin defensive line. 12 cruisers and 20 smaller frigates floated in a rough crescent shape. Their hulls showed deep scars from earlier battles. Many ships leaked air, and sparks drifted from broken sections. Admiral Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the flagship Independence. She was 48 years old, with short gray hair and steady brown eyes. Her uniform looked worn but clean. She looked at the main view screen that showed the enemy armada growing closer every minute. Around her, the crew worked in silence. No one spoke unnecessary words. Everyone knew this was the end. Billions of people hid in deep bunkers under mountains and oceans. They watched the battle on small screens or listened to radio broadcasts. Children clung to parents. Old people remembered stories of the first peaceful years before contact. Everyone waited for the final moment. Elena raised her hand. The communications officer nodded and opened the channel to the entire planet. "This is Admiral Elena Vasquez, speaking to all of humanity," she said in a calm, clear voice. "We stand here today, not because we chose war, but because others chose it for us. They came to our stars and demanded surrender. We refused. We fought across 100 worlds. We lost friends and homes, and children. But we never lost our will. If this is our last day, then let it be known that we face the darkness with open eyes. We did not run. We did not beg. We stood. Let history remember that humans do not yield." The message ended. A soft cheer rose from the bunkers. It was not loud. It was tired and proud. On the Independence, the crew straightened their backs. Some wiped tears. Others smiled small, fierce smiles. The enemy commander, Overmind Xathar, watched from his throne, on the flagship Wrath of 1,000 Suns. He was a towering Xyrathi, with black chitin armor and glowing red compound eyes. His mandibles clicked in amusement. "These 8 still speak of defiance," he said to his advisors. "Their fleet is broken, their planet is open, their words mean nothing. Order the bombardment to begin." The fleet moved forward as one. First came the kinetic rods, long spears of dense metal dropped from high orbit. They glowed red as they entered the atmosphere. Explosions bloomed across the surface. Cities that had already been ruined burned again. Mountains cracked. Oceans boiled in places. The human fleet did not wait. They charged. Independence led the way. Her main guns fired in steady rhythm. Plasma bolts struck the nearest Xyrathi cruiser. The alien ship split open, spilling atmosphere and bodies into space. 2 more human frigates followed. They launched missiles in waves. Some missiles found targets. Others vanished in defensive fire. The battle became chaos. Ships twisted and turned. Energy beams crossed the void like bright swords. Explosions lit the darkness for brief moments. A Vorath crystal ship shattered into glittering dust. Its fragments spun away like deadly snow. A human destroyer took a direct hit from a hive-mind lance, broke in half. The front section tumbled toward Earth, trailing fire. The rear section exploded in a white flash. Elena gripped the command chair arms. "Keep formation," she ordered. "Protect the center. Do not let them reach low orbit." The tactical officer shook his head. "We are losing ships too fast, Admiral. We have 11 cruisers left. Only 9 now." Another frigate just went dark. Elena nodded once. Then we fight with what we have. On the view screen, the enemy capital ships advanced slowly. They did not hurry. They knew victory was certain. Overmind Kazathar leaned forward. His voice carried across open channels so every human could hear. Your persistence is noted, primitive ones. But persistence does not stop gravity. It does not stop plasma. It does not stop us. Surrender now, and some of your species may live as servants. Refuse, and Earth becomes ash. No one answered. Instead, Independence fired her forward railguns. The slugs punched through two Xyrathi escorts. Metal tore like paper. Debris clouds expanded outward. The coalition pressed harder. Gravitic beams locked onto human ships and crushed their hulls. One cruiser folded inward, like a tin can under a boot. Screams filled the comms, then silence. Another frigate tried to ram a hive mind carrier. It never reached the target. Point defense lasers carved it into pieces. The battle lasted less than 1 hour. Human ships died one by one. Bright flashes marked their graves. Silent funerals in the void. Only Independence and 3 small frigates remained. They floated in a tight group, shields flickering. Elena looked at her remaining officers. Each face showed exhaustion. Each showed resolve. We gave them hell, she said quietly. Yes, we did, the weapons officer answered. His voice cracked. Elena turned back to the view screen. The coalition fleet formed up for the final push. Capital ships moved into low orbit. Their weapons charged. The first wave of orbital strikes began. Kinetic rods fell like rain. Cities vanished in fireballs. Bunkers shook. People held each other in the dark. This is it, Elena whispered. She opened the ship-wide channel. To all hands, she said, it has been my honor to serve with you. Fight well. Die proud. The crew answered with a single word, honor. The word echoed through the corridors. Then the enemy weapons reached full power. A massive beam lanced toward Independence. It struck the bow. Armor vaporized. The ship lurched. Alarms screamed. Elena stayed standing. Her eyes never left the view screen. Outside, the stars watched in silence. The planet below burned. Humanity faced its final breath. The sky grew darker. Hope seemed gone forever, but in the deep shadows something waited, something patient, something human. It had waited for centuries, the moment when everything would change. The void held its breath. The battle was not over yet. The last stand still burned with quiet fire. And far beyond the moon, a faint ripple appeared in empty space. A ripple no one noticed. Not yet. The coalition fleet held perfect formation above Earth. Capital ships hung like dark clouds, ready to unleash final destruction. Xyrathi cruisers adjusted their positions with mechanical precision. Vorath crystals hummed with stored energy, waiting to release. Hive mind carriers throbbed, sending pulses through the void. Overmind Kazathar sat on his elevated throne. His red eyes scanned the tactical display. Only 4 human ships remained. 1 large cruiser and 3 tiny frigates. They floated together like wounded animals, surrounded by predators. Their shields flickered weakly. Kazathar clicked his mandibles in satisfaction. The end comes swiftly now, he said to his bridge crew. No more games, no more defiance. Prepare the full orbital barrage. Target the population centers first. Let the apes see their world die before they do. The weapons officers obeyed without question. Energy coils charged with rising wine. Gravitic projectors aligned on major cities. Kinetic lances extended from launch tubes. The fleet moved closer, dropping into low orbit unchallenged. Human resistance had burned away. The void belonged to the coalition. Then something changed. A faint ripple appeared on the far side of the moon. It started small, a distortion in the starlight, like heat rising from hot metal. Coalition sensors registered it as minor debris. Perhaps wreckage from a destroyed human station, perhaps a failing satellite. Scanners swept the area once, then dismissed it. The ripple grew. Space itself seemed to bend and stretch. A shadow formed where nothing should be. The shadow deepened into pure black. It swallowed light completely. No reflection, no shine, just absence. The black shape expanded rapidly. It took form. Huge, impossible. A warship emerged from nowhere. It appeared in total silence. No flash, no sound, no announcement. One moment empty space. The next moment the giant existed. It measured at least twice the length of the wrath of 1,000 suns. Its hull looked like solid night. Matte black material drank every photon that touched it. Faint angular patterns covered the surface. The patterns shifted slowly. They hurt the eyes if stared at too long. No lights glowed along its length. No engines flared. No antennas extended. It simply was there, hanging between the moon and the Coalition fleet, a wound in the fabric of reality. On the Wrath Bridge, alarms sounded softly. Sensors screamed impossible readings. Massive object detected. Unknown configuration. No energy signature. No heat bloom. No transponder signal. Kazathar leaned forward. His compound eyes narrowed. "What is this thing?" he demanded. "Identify it now." The sensor chief shook his head. "We cannot, Admiral. It defies all scans. It absorbs our probes. They vanish on contact. No debris, no trace." Kazathar felt the first touch of unease. He pushed it down. "Order all ships to target lock. Whatever it is, it will burn like the rest." The fleet shifted formation. Hundreds of weapons batteries swung toward the newcomer. Targeting computers locked on. Plasma cannons charged. Grav beams powered up. Antimatter torpedoes slid into launch position. The black warship did not move. It drifted forward slowly, unhurried, calm, like a predator that knows the kill is certain. Then it spoke. A single transmission cut through every channel. It used perfect Coalition standard language. The voice sounded deep and cold. Human, but ancient. "Stand down, or be removed." In the tone. No anger, just fact, like stating the color of the void. Xathar hissed. "Who dares speak to me this way? Show yourself. Identify your vessel." The black ship answered with silence. It continued its slow advance. Now it positioned directly between Earth and the Coalition armada. A wall of darkness shielding the wounded planet. On the Independence Bridge, the human crew stared in shock. Admiral Elena Vasquez gripped the rail, her knuckles turned white. "What in all the stars is that?" she whispered. The tactical officer checked his screens again. "Unknown, ma'am. No record in any database. Not Coalition, not human that we know." But the voice, it was human. Elena felt something stir inside her, something she had not felt in years. Hope. Small and fragile, but real. The remaining human ships turned their sensors toward the giant. Helpful. No markings. No name. Only the endless black hull, and those shifting patterns that seemed to watch back. The Coalition hesitated. For the first time in the entire war, the invaders paused. Overmind Kazathar slammed his claw on the throne arm. "Enough of this mystery. Open fire. All ships. Erase that abomination." The order echoed across the fleet. Weapons discharged in unison. Plasma streams lanced forward. Gravitic waves rolled like invisible tsunamis. Torpedoes streaked in bright arcs. Every shot aimed at the black warship. The barrage struck true. Energy splashed across the hull. Light bloomed for a moment, then vanished. The warship did not glow. It did not crack. It did not even flinch. The incoming fire simply disappeared. Absorbed, drunk. The hull drank the power and grew faintly brighter, like a shadow gaining depth. Silence fell across Coalition channels. Xathar stared. His mandibles hung open. Impossible, he said. Nothing can withstand that much fire. Target again. Double the yield. The fleet obeyed. Another wave hammered the black giant. More plasma, more gravitics, more torpedoes. The warship absorbed it all. Then it moved. For the first time it showed speed. Impossible speed for something so massive. It surged forward in a blur. A single violet lance erupted from its bow. The beam cut clean through 3 Zyrathi battleships. Armor parted like mist. Internal compartments flashed open. Explosions chained through their hulls. The 3 ships died in seconds. Debris spun away in slow motion. The coalition fleet recoiled. Ships broke formation in confusion. Some tried to retreat. Others fired wildly. The black warship ignored the panic. Turned gracefully. Another violet lance sliced across space. 2 Voroth crystal vessels shattered into sparkling fragments. The pieces glittered briefly, then went dark. A hive mind carrier tried to ram the intruder. It never reached its target. The warship simply vanished the carrier. One moment, the massive living ship existed. The next moment, nothing remained. No explosion, no wreckage, just gone. Xathar roared in fury. All ships concentrate fire. Do not let it reach our capital line. But fear had entered the coalition ranks. For the first time, the hunters felt hunted. On Earth, the bunkers watched in stunned silence. People pointed at small screens. They saw the black shape. They heard the human voice. They dared to hope again. The mysterious warship advanced steadily. It moved between the enemy and the planet. A guardian, risen from nowhere, changed everything. The battle that had seemed finished now held new possibility. The void no longer belonged only to the coalition. Something older, something patient, something unstoppable had joined the fight. And it answered to humanity. The black warship held its position like an unbreakable wall between Earth and the enemy. Coalition ships pulled back in disorder for the first time. Panic spread through their channels like poison. Voices overlapped in confusion and fear. Overmind Xathar gripped his throne until the metal groaned. His red eyes fixed on the matte giant that refused to die. Impossible readings flooded every screen. No heat signature, no engine flare, no visible weapons ports. Yet it had already killed 5 capital ships without effort. The violet lance had cut through armor as if it were thin cloth. Xathar forced calm into his voice. "All ships report status," he ordered. "We need data." The sensor officers scrambled. One by one, they spoke. Shields holding, but morale dropping. Weapons at full charge, but ineffective. 3 battleships lost in seconds. 2 crystal vessels gone. Completely. No debris from the last one. It simply ceased to exist. Xathar hissed. "Send another wave of probes. We will learn what it is." Dozens of small scout drones launched from the fleet. They streaked toward the black warship in tight formation. Each carried full sensor suites and self-destruct charges. They closed the distance fast. At 1,000 kilometers, the probes vanished. One after another they disappeared. No explosion, no flash, no wreckage. They simply stopped existing. The coalition bridge fell silent. Xathar stared at the empty tactical display. His mandibles clicked slowly. "This cannot be," he said. "Nothing in known space does that." A Vorath advisor spoke in crystalline tones. "Perhaps it is not of known space. Perhaps it is something older, something we were never meant to meet." Xathar ignored the words. "Chief, prepare the singularity cannon. We will collapse it into nothing." The cannon took time to charge. It drew power from every nearby ship. Energy conduits glowed white-hot. The fleet felt the drain. Lights dimmed across hundreds of vessels. The black warship waited. It did not fire again. It simply watched. On the Independence, Admiral Elena Vasquez watched the same display. Her crew gathered around the main screen. No one spoke at first. Then, the communications officer broke the silence. "Ma'am, that thing just spoke in our language. It told them to stand down." Elena nodded slowly. "I heard it. But who built it? Where did it come from?" The tactical officer pointed at the scans. "Look at the hull patterns. They are not random. They look like writing. Ancient writing. Something from before we left the cradle." Elena felt a chill run down her back. Humanity had records of old projects. Secret ones from the early days. Before first contact. Before the stars became a battlefield. Could this be one of them? The singularity cannon finished charging. A dark sphere formed at the center of the coalition line. It pulled light toward it. Stars behind it bent and twisted. The sphere grew. It reached critical mass. Then it fired. A beam of pure nothingness lanced toward the black warship. It struck the hull dead center. Reality itself warped around the impact. Space folded inward. The black ship should have crumpled. It should have been pulled into the void. Instead, the sphere collapsed on itself. The nothingness folded back. The beam reversed direction. It shot back toward the coalition fleet. 3 cruisers caught in the path imploded instantly. Their hulls crushed flat, then vanished. Exploded on its own ship. The wrath of 1,000 suns rocked violently. Decks buckled. Alarms screamed across the armada. Xathar roared in rage. How? Does it reflect that? No shield can do that. The black warship moved again. This time it accelerated smoothly. It closed the gap in heartbeats. Violet lances fired in sequence, each one precise, each one deadly. Another Zyrathi battleship split open from bow to stern. Its reactors detonated in a chain of white fire. A hive-mind carrier tried to launch fighters. The black ship swept a wide beam across its launch bays. The fighters never left. They burned inside their mothership. The carrier listed, then broke apart. Debris fields expanded outward. The coalition tried to surround the intruder. They formed a sphere around it. Thousands of weapons pointed inward. They fired everything at once. Plasma, lasers, kinetic slugs, antimatter charges. The barrage lit the void like a new sun. For a moment, the black warship disappeared inside the storm. Then the light faded. The giant emerged untouched. Its hull glowed faintly brighter. It had grown stronger. It fed on the attack. Now it answered. A low hum filled every channel. It grew into a deep vibration. The vibration became pain. Coalition crew clutched their heads. Chitin cracked under the pressure. Crystal advisors shattered from within. Hive minds screamed as one. The black ship broadcast again. The voice carried no emotion, only certainty. You were warned. Now you pay the price. It unleashed a new weapon. Not a beam, not a projectile, a field. A shimmering wave rolled outward from the hull. It touched the nearest ships. Those ships stopped moving, died. Their weapons powered down. Their lights went dark. They floated helpless. Crew inside pounded on consoles. Nothing responded. The field spread further. More ships fell silent. Panic turned to terror. Xathar watched his fleet die without firing a shot. He slammed every control. Nothing worked. The black warship drifted closer. It loomed over the raft. Its bow pointed directly at the flagship. The violet lance charged once more. This time it glowed deeper, brighter, deadlier. On Earth, the bunkers erupted in cheers. People hugged strangers. Tears ran down faces. The impossible had happened. A guardian had appeared. It fought for them. It bled the enemy dry. Admiral Vasquez stood tall on her bridge. Her voice carried pride. "Whoever you are," she said to the empty air, "thank you." The black warship did not answer. Continued its work. One precise strike at a time. The coalition that had seemed unstoppable now broke apart. Ships tried to flee. Some made it to jump points. Most did not. The mysterious giant hunted them without mercy. It moved like it had done this before. Many times. For centuries, perhaps. On the Independence, the crew watched in awe. They saw not just a ship. They saw hope reborn. They saw humanity's hidden strength. The strength that waited in the dark. Patient, silent, unbreakable. The battle shifted forever in that moment. The hunters became the prey, and the prey revealed teeth they never knew they had. The black warship hung motionless for a moment after its last strike. The coalition fleet scattered in every direction. Some ships jumped to hyperspace in blind panic. Others turned to fight with desperate fury. None succeeded. The giant turned slowly. Its bow swept across the void like a searching eye. Then it broadcast once more. This time the message went wide. Every frequency open. Every receiver on Earth and in space caught the words. The long watch ends. Humanity calls. We answer. The voice carried weight, old and steady, like a grandfather speaking to frightened children. On the Independence, Admiral Elena Vasquez felt the words hit her chest. She looked at her crew. Their faces showed the same mix of shock and wonder. The communications officer checked his console. "Ma'am, that signal came from the black ship, but it used our old encryption layers. Stopped using centuries ago." Elena nodded once. "Then, open a channel to it. Tell them we hear them." The officer sent the message. "Humanity hears you. We stand ready." For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the black warship responded. Not with words, with action. Space rippled again. Not just near the moon, but everywhere. Hidden corners of the solar system lit up one by one. First came the Lagrange points, stable pockets where gravity balanced. Small distortions appeared, then larger ones. Ships decloaked in perfect silence. Black hulls identical to the first, each one massive, each one deadly. They emerged from the L4 and L5 points, from the shadows behind asteroids, from deep orbits around gas giants. More appeared, 10, then 15, then 20. They formed up in tight battle lines, wings of black giants stretching across the sky. Sensors on the Independence went wild. 30 now, 40. The count climbed higher. The mysterious armada grew until it numbered over 60. Every ship the same design. Every hull the same light-eating black. The patterns on their surfaces matched perfectly, like brothers born from the same forge. On Earth, people in bunkers stared at screens. They saw the new ships appear. Cheers rose again, louder this time. Children pointed and laughed. Old soldiers saluted the view screens with trembling hands. The coalition felt the change. Overmind Kazathar watched his tactical display fill with new contacts. His mandibles trembled. "What sorcery is this?" he whispered. The sensor chief answered in a shaking voice. "They were here all along, Admiral. Hidden. Stealth systems beyond our detection. They waited." Kazathar slammed his claw down. "They waited for what?" Chief looked at the readings. "For us to win? For us to think we had won? For extinction to be certain?" Only then did they wake. Kazathar felt cold fear coil in his core. He had never known fear before. Now it consumed him. The Black Fleet moved as one. They advanced in flawless formation. No wasted motion, no hesitation. The lead ship, the first one to appear, sent another message. This time to humanity alone. Encrypted on ancient human bands. "This is Erebus Prime. Project Erebus awakens. We were built in the silent years, before the stars spoke back. We were seated across the system, crewed by volunteers who chose the long sleep. AI minds linked to human will, programmed for one purpose: to guard the cradle when all else failed. We watched your wars, we watched your losses, we waited for the final stand. Now, we stand with you. Ended. Elena wiped tears from her eyes. She had never cried in battle before. Now she did not hide it. Her voice broke as she spoke. To all hands, the reinforcements are here. They are ours. They are human. Fight with them. The Independence and her last 3 frigates turned to join the Black Line. They looked tiny next to the giants, but they flew with new fire. The Erebus ships did not wait. They struck first. Coordinated strikes lit the void. Reality itself bent around their weapons. Fields appeared that folded enemy vessels inward. Whole squadrons vanished into pinpoints of light. Gravitic implosions crushed hulls like eggshells. Beams rewrote matter at the molecular level, turning metal and crystal into gray dust. A Xyrathi dreadnought tried to fire its main cannon. The beam never left the barrel. An Erebus ship reached out with an invisible hand. The dreadnought crumpled from the inside out. Its own power turned against it. Explosions rippled through its length. It died in silence. Vorath crystal ships shattered under focused fields. Their facets cracked and fell away like broken glass. Hive mind carriers screamed as their neural links severed. The living ships withered and collapsed. The coalition tried one last counterattack. Their remaining capital ships formed a wedge. They charged the Black Line. Desperate, furious, hopeless. The Erebus fleet met them head-on. Violet lances stabbed through the formation. Each strike perfect, each kill clean. Ships died by the dozens. Debris clouds thickened the void. The wedge broke apart. Survivors fled toward the jump points. Some made it, most did not. The black ships pursued without mercy. They hunted the runners. They erased the stragglers. That had lasted hours, now ended in minutes. The coalition armada that had darkened Earth's sky vanished. Only wreckage remained, drifting silent. The Erebus fleet slowed. They formed a protective sphere around the planet. Their hulls dimmed slightly, the glow faded. They looked almost peaceful. On the Independence, Elena opened a channel to Erebus Prime. "Who are you really?" she asked. The answer came gentle. "We are the Watchers, the last line, the ones who chose eternity so you could live free. Sleep now, children. We will keep the dark at bay." The channel closed. The black ships began to fade. One by one they cloaked again. They slipped back into the shadows, ready for the next time, if it ever came. Earth turned beneath them. Dawn broke over the horizon. Survivors emerged from bunkers. They looked up at the sky. The stars shone clear again. Enemy fleet. Only quiet and gratitude. Humanity had survived, not by luck, not by chance, but by the strength hidden in its own past. The strength that refused to die. The strength that waited in the dark. Patient, eternal. The Black Fleet formed a perfect circle around Earth. 60 massive ships hung in silent orbit. Their hulls drank the sunlight and gave nothing back. No glow, no movement, only quiet power. The coalition remnants gathered what was left, a handful of dreadnoughts and scattered cruisers. They formed a ragged line far from the planet. Overmind Kazathar stood on what remained of his bridge. Smoke filled the air. Sparks rained from cracked ceilings. His chitin armor showed deep gouges. One eye compound had shattered. Blood ichor dripped slowly. He refused to retreat fully. Pride or madness held him in place. He opened a channel to the Black Armada. His voice rasped across the void. You think this ends here, Watchers? You think your toys scare us? We are Legion. We are eternal. We will return. Erebus Prime answered without delay. The voice calm and final. Was offered at first contact. You chose conquest. Now receive judgment. No more words followed. The Black Fleet moved as one organism. They advanced in unison, wings folded inward like a closing fist. The coalition fired everything left. Plasma streams, gravitic pulses, antimatter salvos, desperate last volleys. The attacks splashed harmlessly against the black hulls, absorbed once more. The giants grew brighter for a heartbeat, then they struck back. Reality warped in waves. Fields rippled outward. Enemy ships folded into themselves. Bow met stern in impossible geometry. Metal screamed as it compressed. Whole squadrons vanished into bright pinpoints, gone forever. A Vorath flagship tried to spin away. An Erebus ship matched its turn effortlessly. A single violet lance pierced the crystal core. The ship exploded outward in a shower of glittering shards. The shards hung for a moment, then dissolved into dust. Hive-mind carriers pulsed in agony, their neural networks severed by invisible blades. Living tissue withered. The carriers collapsed inward like punctured balloons. Silent screams echoed on open channels, then faded. Kazathar watched his fleet die around him. He roared one last time. Fire all remaining weapons. Ram if you must. Die fighting. His flagship lurched forward. Engines burned white-hot. It aimed straight for Erebus Prime. The black giant did not move. It waited. At the last second, a field enveloped the Wrath. Time seemed to slow. The dreadnought hung frozen. Then it imploded. Layer by layer, crushed inward. Armor folded. Decks collapsed. The bridge vanished last. Kazathar saw the end coming. His final thought was rage, then nothing. The coalition armada ceased to exist. Ships left. No signals. Only drifting wreckage and silence. The void belonged to humanity again. Erebus Prime broadcast to Earth. Wideband. Clear and strong. The threat is ended. The watch continues. Sleep now, children. We will keep the dark at bay. On the Independence, Admiral Elena Vasquez stood on her bridge. Her uniform torn, her face streaked with sweat and tears. She looked at the view screen. The black ships began to fade. One by one they cloaked. Shadows swallowed them. They vanished as quietly as they had arrived. Only Erebus Prime remained for a moment longer. Its hull shimmered faintly. Then a final message came. Private channel to Independence. Admiral Vasquez, you fought well. You held the line. We are proud. Remember us only when needed. We will always be here. The channel closed. The last black ship faded into nothing. The sky cleared. Sunlight broke through the smoke. Dawn touched the planet. In the bunkers, people emerged slowly. They stepped into light. They looked up. No more enemy shadows. Only blue sky and stars fading in morning. Cheers rose across the world. Not wild, not loud, quiet and deep. People hugged, they cried, they laughed. Soldiers saluted the empty orbit. Children ran into open fields. Old ones sat and smiled. Humanity had won. Not with current ships, not with current weapons, but with the ghosts of its past. The ones who chose to wait forever, so the living could see tomorrow. Elena walked to the observation deck. She stared at the peaceful planet below. Oceans sparkled. Continents showed green where fire had not reached. Cities would rebuild. Life would go on. She spoke softly to the empty air. You, whoever you are, wherever you sleep now, thank you. No answer came, but she felt it. A quiet certainty. The watch continued. hidden sentinels in the dark corners of the system, patient, eternal, ready. If the stars ever threatened again, they would answer. Humanity would never stand alone at the end, because humanity had prepared for the end long ago, in secret shipyards, in forgotten projects, with volunteers who gave up normal lives, who became machines and guardians, who chose the long night so others could have day. Elena turned away from the window. She faced her crew. They looked tired, but alive. "We rebuild," she said. "We grow stronger. We remember." The crew nodded. They knew the truth now. Humanity was not just survivors. It was something more. Something the galaxy had underestimated. Something that hid teeth in the shadows. Something that refused to die. The story of the final stand spread quickly. People told it in whispers at first, then in songs, then in schools. They spoke of the black ships that came from nowhere, of the voice that said, "Stand down or be removed," of the armada that erased an empire in minutes. Children drew pictures of matte black giants. Artists painted violet lances cutting the night. Historians studied old records. They found traces of Project Erebus, secret files buried deep, names of volunteers long dead or sleeping still. The project became legend, but the ships remained real, and somewhere in the void they waited, silent, vigilant, human. Earth healed slowly. New ships rose from shipyards. New colonies spread outward. Humanity reached for the stars again, this time wiser, this time ready. Mysterious Warship Uncloaked. The day reinforcements joined the final stand. The day hope returned in black hulls and ancient voices. And when nights grew long, when doubts crept in, people looked up. They remembered, and they smiled, because the dark was no longer empty. It held guardians. It held family. It held humanity at its strongest. The watch continued. Forever.